And welcome back to the Good Morning Show. We are live in the studio, and we are now joined by Pastor Mark Williams from North Cleveland Church of God. Welcome. How are you? Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm doing great. Thanks. It's great to be here.
Well, we're very glad that you've joined us this morning because there's a lot of stuff to talk about with the holiday season rapidly approaching, or I guess we're in the season. But we want to talk about the Christmas programs that you have coming up, but we want to talk about a little bit. You are lead pastor at North Cleveland Church of God, and let's talk about how you got to that position, because this is recent.
That's right.
I would say. So if you want to talk about that a little bit.
I began serving as lead pastor of the North Cleveland Church of God in August. I had the privilege of walking in the footsteps of my predecessor, Brother Mitch Maloney. Mitch Maloney was a 20-year-plus pastor at North Cleveland. Before coming to this position, I served as an evangelist and a pastor, and most recently as the general overseer of the Church of God. And following my tenure there, felt the Lord just strongly leading me toward going back into a pastoral ministry role. Sandra Kay and I just really wanted to get back into a local church, to have the privilege to be able to teach and preach the Word of God, to be able to minister to people and live with people in crisis and marry and bury and dedicate babies and serve communion and see people's lives changed, never dreaming that the opportunity would actually come right here in Cleveland. And Pastor Maloney took a position with the international offices in church planting, and one thing led to another, and the church asked us to come and to consider being pastor, and so we've been there now and since August, and just loving it. It's just a great privilege.
Okay. You mentioned you were general overseer.
That's right.
At Church of God.
Mm-hmm.
So how long were you there?
I was general overseer for 4 years, and
Okay.
I served as a part of the leadership team, which we call the executive committee, for 8 years. And prior to that, I was in California as a bishop, and then before that, as a pastor in Florida, and actually pastored here for a short time. So been here and there.
Okay, that was going to lead me to my next question. Where are you from? How did you end up here? And so I guess when you were working with Church of God, you were here at the headquarters.
That's
all
right.
Those years.
And even before then, I'm actually from Texas originally, but I came to lead.
That's good news right there.
They say you can always tell a Texan. You can't tell him much, but you can always tell a Texan. But I actually came to Cleveland for the first time when I attended Lee University, transferred in as a sophomore in 1983.
Okay.
And graduated from Lee, went on to the seminary, and at the same time began my ministry. So I've been in and out of Cleveland for a while, and Cleveland has just become home.
You know, it has that effect on a lot of people, and I know the university has a lot to do with that. People come here, and in that period of your life, early establishment of who you are, a lot of times you put roots down, and sometimes without any intention, but you end up loving where you're at in school, and then they get married, or they just stay.
That's so true. And Cleveland is just a magnificent town. It's a great town to raise a family in. It's a great community to be a part of. So much industry, so many things happen here in Cleveland, and it's easy to fall in love for sure.
Sure. And the city, I believe, has they'll always have a debt of gratitude, I guess you could call it, to Lee University, because it not only does it bring quality people that a lot of them end up staying here, but just the way it touches the community physically with its campus and the things that it brings. But anyways, you're right there on campus with North Cleveland Church of God, right?
That's right.
Pretty much.
We're right next to Lee University on 11th Street, 335 11th Street here in Cleveland. And we are just thankful to have that close proximity to Lee and have the privilege to be able to see a whole new generation rising in various majors and various careers, being able to prepare themselves for life. And we at North Cleveland think that, among other churches, we also have a role in being able to help prepare these young women and men for their life, to discover, to develop, to deploy their spiritual gifts, and see them just grow and be ready for life.
Sure. Well, people that live here or are traveling through Cleveland and are not familiar with North Cleveland Church of God, they probably recognize the big church on the hill there.
Yeah, that's right.
But if they don't know anything besides the big church on the hill, tell us about the day to day, when are your services, and do you have some programs that you're really proud of, or?
North Cleveland sure is a church that has actually been in existence over 100 years now.
Wow.
And its ministry has actually given birth to the movement of our denomination that we're now a part of. That's in 186 countries of the world, and so we sort of look at North Cleveland as one of the founding churches of that movement. But though it's a historic church, we also very much want to embrace the future that the Lord has, and so we're really excited about all that we feel the Lord has called us to. We're passionate about seeing people connect with God and connect with His purpose for their life. We long to be a multi-ethnic, a spirit-filled, a life-giving church that is able to reach out with love and acceptance and forgiveness, be able to deliver a message of hope to people and to help them find direction for their life. We have something going on at the church all the time. We have all kinds of life groups that meet in various times during the week. We have, of course, our anchor Sunday morning worship service that meets at 10:30 a.m. on Sunday morning, as well as a Sunday evening service at 6. And we have Wednesday evening training events as well. And as I said, all kinds of kids programs, student programs, college programs, every kind of group you can imagine through the week, including life recovery groups called Celebrate Recovery that helps women and men who are dealing with life-controlling issues. So we're looking to be a holistic church that not only ministers within our four walls, but also goes out to the larger community as well.
And that's key. And my personal opinion, a church really shows its true colors when it's focused more on ministering to people who may not be members.
That's right.
They're just people that need help. They need hope, like you mentioned. And ministering to their own members is great, and there's a lot of churches that do a really good job about that, and they have all these programs. But when they reach out and they do programs that are intentional about impacting someone who's hurting, that's the gospel.
And especially doing so with no intent of it benefiting you, just for the sake of being Christ's hands and heart extended to those that are in need. And that's what we really want to be. We want not only have church, we want to be the church.
Right. Awesome. Well, you covered the Sunday morning service, your anchor service, you called it, where it's a good time for the whole body to come together and worship, and then you've got your other services throughout the week. We're going to touch on the fact that you're relatively new to WTMB in our family here. So if you haven't caught them yet, we broadcast them on Sunday morning at 9:30, and then we broadcast at Sunday evening at 7:30. So there's two opportunities on Sunday if you can't make it to church, or if you don't have a home church and you don't feel like getting out. But there's a good chance to try North Cleveland Church of God and see what you think. And you've got good teaching on those programs.
Well, thank you very much. We're so excited to be a part of the WTMB family. And when the opportunity came for us to join the already fantastic programming, we just could not turn it down. We're so excited that the Lord has provided this vehicle for us to join the many other churches that are a part of WTMB as well, to be able to continue to give a message of hope through Jesus Christ. And so we're very excited, and I do hope that you'll take an opportunity to watch us and to be part of our program. And we always have prayer counselors that are standing by during those broadcasts, when they are rebroadcasts through the week.
Okay.
So there's always an opportunity for us to connect and pray.
Sure, and I think we've got one on Thursday evening too at 7 p.m. Right?
We do. Tuesday nights you're on at 8 p.m. and Thursday on at 7 p.m. So if you can't watch if you're at church, on those Sundays when we're at either 9:30 or 7:30 at night, which some people are, you can catch the replays on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Tuesday at 8, Thursday at 7, and mixed in with that is going to be a few Christmas specials. From what I'm told. So can you give us any spoilers on what we're going to see from North Cleveland Church of God?
Coming up, as we are taping now, coming up this weekend, as a matter of fact, we're going to be showing on our program our children's Christmas program called "It's All About That Baby." And it's looking at Christmas through the eyes of the sheep. It is a fantastic musical that our NC kids, along with Ascension Youth Choir, put together, and I think you will love the program. And then the week following, you'll be able to see another Christmas special that we called Christmas at North. It is a special that features a lot of holiday music, that some of which we are familiar with, and others are new varieties of some of the traditional carols that I think you will find very exciting. So
Sure.
hopefully it'll add to the season.
Well, that's what we hope as a station, what we've done the last couple of years, and every year it's gotten better. And this year, North Cleveland Church of God is a part of that getting better and bigger is what I'm going to say too. What we do the week leading into Christmas, and then all day Christmas Day, and then probably the day after, we try to gather as much Christmas music and some of the local Christmas performances. And we've started with just a couple, and every year we've added one or two more. And what we love about it is that it's our local bodies that are presenting this and bringing together just, on our station, there's a lot of programming, but during that week it's fun because you can turn it on almost every day. You're going to catch one of the churches or Lee University. Cleveland State's going to be in there this year.
Yep.
And just our local people, local faces you'll know, singing great Christmas music. And like you said, promoting not only just, Christmas music like Jingle Bells and all that, nothing against those, but actually promoting the real reason for
Sure.
Christmas. And again, I can't help but say we're kind of blessed the fact that we're gleaning from Lee University and the talent that they have there with music. Right. And those kids go to all these bodies around here locally and worship, and then we get to...
And not just that, the production teams as well. You guys have a fantastic media department at North Cleveland, and involving some I guess what we refer to as major players in the digital media world. So you guys are able to produce some really great content. It looks good, sounds good, and you enjoy watching it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We really take digital media very seriously, and we've got a lot of room to improve, I know, but we've got some great people that work very, very hard, and so we're excited.
Who was it you were mentioning? It was John Souders that goes there?
Yeah, John Souders, who is the digital media director over at Cleveland High School, which everyone knows Cleveland High School's media department is outstanding, to say the least. And he's involved in your media production at North Cleveland, so very well produced stuff. So
Well, I appreciate that very much. John's an amazing gift.
Absolutely, he sure is. And one of the things that we've done with some of the folks that have come in from the different churches that we've had leading up to Christmas is we've had them talk a little bit about the Christmas season and what it really, really, truly means. And it's easy to get wrapped up in the gift buying and all this stuff like that. But there's more to this than just that. And if you care to share kind of your thoughts about this season and the importance of it.
Well, it really is true. I think Dr. Seuss wrote, "What if Christmas was more than in a store? What if Christmas was a little bit more?" And indeed, Christmas is more than just some of the tangible, materialistic kinds of things that we do at Christmas time. For Christians, Christmas is the season of Advent. It is the season that we mark the coming, the arrival of Jesus Christ to this earth. It is truly one of the most wonderful times of the year because we believe that the birth of Jesus was the hope and the dream of all of the prophets and all of the seers and all of the psalmists as they looked forward to the day that Jesus, a Messiah, would be born. Equally true, we see that the birth of Jesus has actually given meaning to history from that day in Bethlehem, even to this very day. I think what it means for me, it's a continual reminder year after year that God fulfills His promise. Because the promise of a coming Messiah was as old as the Garden of Eden. And in the hundreds of years that occurred since the Garden of Eden to the time that Jesus was born, you had prophet after prophet living various years apart, distances apart, catching glimpses of a Messiah that would come. In fact, there are more than 300 different prophecies that are given in the Old Testament that point to the birth of Jesus. And the calculation, the probability that all of those prophecies spread out over all of those years with all of these different people would be fulfilled at one time, at one place, in one person. In fact, Grant Jeffrey's book one time calculated if just 17 of the characteristics that the prophets saw over all of those years came to pass in one person, the chances of that happening would be 1 in 480 million times 1 million times 1 billion. And yet all of them, not just 17, but all the characteristics, 48 characteristics out of 300 prophecies came to pass in one person. It just gives me hope and assurance that the same God who watched over every one of those promises and made sure they were fulfilled in their right time is the same God that's watching over my life, that's watching over our lives, that not one of His promises will fail, that He is fully dependable. So at Christmas, I'm reminded that God fulfills His promise. I'm reminded that there is hope, that regardless of where we live in a place as obscure as Nazareth, I mean, Nazareth was this little village that was built on the side of 3 hills, 20 miles east of the Mediterranean Sea, 15 miles west of the Sea of Galilee, 70 miles north of the city of Jerusalem, had no access to a major road. It was so out of Jewish life until Nathanael said to Philip, "Can any good thing come out of Nazareth?" And yet it was that town where Mary lived. And in that obscure village, this young, beautiful, olive-complexion maiden that God chose to show His favor to be the mother of the Lord, He came and visited. Regardless of how obscure and how isolated that you may feel, there is a God who can still show favor to you. And regardless of how hopeless you feel, the Messiah has come and can bring you back into relationship with God and to fulfill the purpose that He has for your life. Well, I'm trying to stay calm, but as you can see,
Yeah.
I get
Hey.
pretty excited
We don't mind.
about Advent because
Right.
it gives hope, and it builds hope in me also that the same Jesus who came the first time that we celebrate Christmas is also going to come again. So we get very excited about Christmas, and I'm so excited about Advent because it's a chance to stand on the platform of a holiday,
Right.
and be able to say, through Jesus Christ there is hope, and through Jesus Christ there is help.
That's right.
Well, the for people who are watching and they hear the word Advent and they're like, "Oh, that's just a Christmas word," and they don't really understand what Advent is. Like you said, it's talking about a season of anticipation, of you're about to get something really great. That's kind of the loose meaning of Advent. And that's the season that we, as Christians, celebrate. Is basically the 4 weeks leading up to Christmas, if I'm not mistaken.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's the 4 Sundays that lead
Right.
up to December 25th or Christmas Day. And it is a season of waiting. It's a season of anticipation. It's a season, the literal meaning of the word is arrival. The arrival of a dignitary. But in this case, the dignitary of all dignitaries.
Right.
Awesome. And that's great that you talked on Advent. I really appreciate you bringing that into the conversation. The other thing that people, I guess, believers and the people that look at believers, sometimes they'll get critical about the role of commercialism and just how the seasons just got out of hand. And that's not so much the fault of believers, I believe, but what they're doing is displaying the fact that there's gifts involved. And I give gifts to my kids. I give gifts to my wife and my friends, and that's a representation of our gift as believers that we were given freely. And I think that's a beautiful. Now we mess up the way we blow it out of proportion and demonstrate that, but I believe that there's no greater gift. And you want to touch on that a little bit as
No,
far as the gift
absolutely.
of Christmas?
You know, every time we think about Christmas, we think about the giving of gifts and the honoring of people that we love. And to me, it is just reminiscent of the greatest gift that has been given to all of us, the gift of God's Son, how that He so loved us that He gave His only begotten Son. Jesus came and He gave Himself and gave His life a ransom for many and rose from the dead and provided for all of us the gift of eternal life and the gift of the freedom from the penalty of sin and from the power of sin and ultimately from the presence of sin. And it's the greatest gift in all of the world. And sometimes I think these gifts that we give to one another silently remind us that there is a greater giver and a greater gift behind the gifts of love and the expressions that we have. I think my favorite Christmas in all the world was when I was a little boy. I was growing up in Texas, as I said before, only child. My mother and father's family, however, lived in West Virginia. And so when I was growing up in Texas, every Christmas when I was a little boy, I spent in Texas, you know. But then my mom and dad, and I was still very small, said, we're going to go to West Virginia for Christmas. Well, this filled my heart with great anxiety because I got to thinking, well, what about Santa Claus? Santa Claus, I mean, he's not going to know that I'm going to be in West Virginia. And what about my gifts?
Somebody needs to make sure that he's aware that I'm not going to be at my house like
Exactly.
on Christmas. Who's in charge here?
So I was panicking. So we get in the car and we're on the journey. And as we're traveling, though, every stop we made, my mother would get out of the car ahead of me. And unbeknownst to me, she would go into the store, whether we're stopping for food or gasoline, and she would say something to the proprietor, and I would walk into the store, and the proprietor would look at me and say, "Are you Mark?" And my eyes would get big and say, "Yes." One of Santa's helpers was just here and left this for you. And they would hand me a gift that my mom had given them. And Santa's helper just wanted you to know that Santa knows that you're on your way to West Virginia. And he's going to be there and everything is going to be all right. Now, you know, I can't remember any of the toys, but I do remember the message. And sometimes I think, even behind the toys and the tradition of Santa and everything, there is a silent message that gets to all of us, that all along this journey we are not alone. And all along this journey, God has a way of showing up to give us little gifts here and there to remind us of the greatest gift in all of the world.
That's right.
Amen.
And I want to remind everybody, if you have not had a chance to take a look at North Cleveland Church of God on WTMB, they are on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m., Thursday at 7 p.m., and then twice on Sunday, 9:30 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. Pastor, we appreciate you coming in today.
It's been a great privilege, and thank you. We're so proud to be a part of WTMB family.
Well, thank you. You are a very good addition to the programming here, and we're happy to have you. So
Thank
Absolutely.
you so much.
And we will take a quick break, and we will be right back. Stay with us.